Points podcast, and I am so excited to be here with you all today. Now, the last two episodes, we heavily focused on being a subcontractor, but we're getting right back into doing business with the cities this time. And we have the City of Kirkland and Washington State, and I am joined by the amazing Jay. Jay, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
Doing fantastic. It's a beautiful day here in the Pacific Northwest, and very glad to be here today.
I know that's right. I definitely appreciate you being here. But before we hop like into the weed or the meat and potatoes of doing business with the city of Kirkland, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been with the city of Kirkland almost 10 years now. A lot of people, when they think Kirkland, the first thing they think is the Costco brand. And actually, the reason that the Costco brand is called Kirkland is because of us, the city of Kirkland. This is where the first Costco was. So we're a suburb of Seattle. About 95,000 residents live here. We're just on the other side of Lake Washington from Seattle, which is picture of the lake is behind me. Um, before that, I worked actually down in the city of Key West, Florida for 15 years. I was in charge of utilities down there for the last five, the sewer, stormwater, and garbage and recycling programs for the island. A very unique place down there, and I enjoy music, playing guitar, and following the great sports teams, and sometimes not great sports teams from the Seattle area. And love my alma mater, go Huskies.
Oh, so you are a recovering Florida man. Is that what you're telling me?
I am a recovering Florida man. It was a great experience down there. Key West, where you're actually closer to Cuba than Miami. You're actually closer to you know, Cuba than the nearest Walmart. So you're out there in the ocean, and interesting challenges there that no other city in America has to deal with on a daily basis.
Oh,
But it's
that's a good question.
good to be back up here this time of year, especially. But I
So
miss
we
the
may have to
winters.
reach out to the city of Key West because now I am intrigued. I need to know what's going on.
Yep, I keep in contact with them. A lot of really good people down there.
Nice. And to that point, the city of Kirkland, so that is kind of a drastic shift. Like how
Mhm.
did that happen? Where you
Uh, I grew up here in the Seattle area,
okay.
and then I got tired of the rain. So decided I was going to go down to Key West. I'd visited there before. Told everyone up here, yeah, it's just going to be, I love Seattle. I'll be back in a year and a half, and a year and a half turned into 15.
Okay.
Just I really
That makes
enjoyed
perfect sense. I
my
mean,
time down
I'm
there.
originally from Florida, so I
Mhm.
always tell people the moment you get down here, like it's impossible to just leave, you know?
Yeah, where in the winter, we may get 30 days of gray weather in a row. And the first job I had in Key West, the office was literally the probably the southernmost local government office in America, except for Hawaii. So I could literally walk across the street to the beach and go swimming during my lunch hour, and then uh, grab a shower and come right back in again to
Wow.
finish the rest of the day.
Living the dream. Okay. But to the city, can you tell us a little bit about your role within the
Sure.
city of Kirkland?
Yep, I am the purchasing agent for the city of Kirkland. We have about it's over 600 employees,
Wow.
and my role is more of a facilitator. I don't tell the departments what they need to buy. They're the subject matter experts. They know how to run the police department, the fire department, public works, parks,
Mhm.
all the different departments we have. But my job is to help facilitate for them,
Got it.
to help them make sure that they're following city and state purchasing rules,
Okay.
and to help achieve our equity and procurement goals, and also to help them find vendors, help them figure out processes and try to get the tools and equipment we need at the best price, the soonest we can, at the best value to our local taxpayers.
Okay, so would we describe that as more of a centralized or decentralized
I
model?
I would say a decentralized model. because it's the departments that are doing their own purchase orders, they're doing uh, paying for items on their purchasing card, but we're reviewing every one of those transactions, every one of those new contracts, every one of those uh, purchase card requisitions or purchase order requisitions to make sure that the right amount of competition was used,
Nice.
and that the legal interests of the city are protected in our engagements, and insurance is provided and all that good stuff.
Got it. And to that point, you mentioned that the departments are allowed to basically, do their own purchasing. How many departments make up the city of Kirkland?
Um, I don't know the exact number, but it's pretty all encompassing in that, I know a lot of cities, and especially a lot of the newer cities may contract out to their local counties for police and fire services
Yeah.
and things like that. But we've got our own police department, our own fire department, our own planning and the building department, which is combined into one,
Mhm.
human resources, finance and administration, the utilities, we don't have our own wastewater treatment plant, but we maintain our own sewer and water collection systems,
Okay.
stormwater and drainage. So pretty much everything, we are providing ourselves, our solid waste program as well. So there's a lot that we do. And what's really nice about cities the size of Kirkland, and I experienced this in Key West as well, I think you get to interact and meet the people of the different departments. So you get to know
Yeah.
firsthand what their jobs are, what their challenges are, what they need to do their job better. And you don't get siloed. I think a lot of times in the larger cities, finance people only talk to finance people, where when that happens, you kind of lose the perspective of the departments that you're trying to help with their purchasing needs.
I completely understand. I have to put my mic on mute because I agree uh, vocally. So I think that one, it shows like the different levels in which, businesses can interact.
Mhm,
And one thing you mentioned was equity in business and
mhm.
also helping those departments find vendors. Can we learn a little bit about the equity in business
Sure.
component of it?
Yeah, it started with our council actually passing a resolution that they wanted us to start doing a better job in engaging with small business, minority and women-owned businesses. So we met with experts in the field that are a lot farther along in this process than we are to figure out what they're doing and what is working for them and what isn't. We do have we're fortunate to have a lot of great organizations here like the Port of Seattle and others that are doing some really amazing things in this area. So we also reached out to the state Office of Minority and Women Business Enterprises. We have merged their roster with our financial software vendor files so we can start doing reporting so we can track our successes and how many contracts we have, how much we have spent with minority and women-owned firms. So then we started developing our own policies. So for instance, if we're selecting engineers to design a roadway, at least one of them has to be an OMWB certified firm. If we're utilizing small works roster projects, at least one has to be an OMWB certified firm, or for routine services, or if you're just, buying stuff and getting quotes. And as part of that, the kind of the immediate pushback we get, and I get this because departments are under pressure to deliver on deadlines and to get things done quick, and they just want their stuff so they can do the job. But to show them how easy it is, it really only takes 5 to 10 minutes to search the two primary sources of this information to find vendors. The state OMWBE website does a fantastic job with their directory that allows you to search by field of work, by proximity to you, in just a wonderful myriad of categories to find a vendor. And the state has this website from this nonprofit organization called MRSC that the city utilizes for our small works consultant and vendor rosters. And there's a way to search that allows you to find all minority and women-owned firms that have registered in the various work categories. So we set up a training for that. Um, I trained, geez, several dozen of the purchasing people in our staff on how to use these programs, and we're following up on it. It's just not a one-time thing where we announce we're going to do this program and then don't require them to do the legwork on it because, admittedly, our engagement rates previously for minority and women-owned businesses was low. We need to do a better job. And, we some of the laws around up here in the state of Washington don't allow you to give, like in competitive bids, bonus points for being a minority and women-owned business. But what we're trying to do instead is getting more of these OMWBE certified firms in the game, allowing them to have the opportunities to have quotes, submit their qualifications for engineering work, professional services, all these other fields that perhaps they may have been excluded from because I think a lot of governments get in the habit of, you know, sticking with the familiar because it's known. Well, there's a lot of other different businesses out there that would very much enjoy the opportunity to be able to enjoy a similar type relationship with the city, but if they're not given the chance, if you keep going back to the same business over and over again.
Definitely. And first of all, the proactiveness that, is required for implementing a program like this. I've seen a lot of programs been stood up and, that was it, right?
Mhm.
Get the certification. That's the most that, can be said. But to have a roster that they can actively source from and do some outreach to, themselves, like that's a step above as well, like amongst a lot of different programs that I've seen. But thinking about it from the aspect of businesses who are, in the area or in the Seattle area even, and
Mhm.
they're interested in doing business with the city, what would be one of the first steps that you would recommend them to take?
There's a few things they can do. First of all, they can utilize that MRSC rosters website just to get their name out there because it's a great resource that we regularly train our staff to utilize because
Mhm.
a lot of times we have unique things that happen here that someone thinks, how am I going to find a vendor that does this? One example that happened here, a year or so ago, in some of our parks here, we actually have issues with uh, beavers constructing dams and blocking rivers and adjusting the flow into our lakes and streams, and it causes problems in the park. So it's like, how do we handle that? How do we mitigate that situation? How can we find vendors? Well, the MRSC is a website where businesses can register that allow us to search in several different categories to learn about the businesses and the types of services that they can provide. So basically, for people my age and older, it's like a yellow pages for us where we can, you know, go out there and find the businesses that can provide the services we're looking for. And one of the things we did this past summer or last summer, I should say, and we're going to be doing again in the fall this time is we've done engagement with the state OMWB office to provide a series of certification series where we invite small businesses in with the city. And the first part of the seminar is they learn the advantages of getting that OMWB certification from the state. And then I talk about how city purchasing rules and procedures work and how businesses can best be situated to gain opportunities to work with the city and how to find because as we talked about earlier, we have decentralized purchasing. So you could tell me the wonderful medical gloves that you have for your staff, but I'm not going to be buying it. I'm going to rely on the fire department to make the best choices. So it's helpful for them to be able to find the people that are making the product decisions that make the purchase so that they're reaching out to the right source.
Yeah, I love how you casually brought up the gloves and tying it to the fire
Mhm.
department and the police departments. Like I think there's one thing that we don't consider most of the time when we think about law enforcement and our safety,
Mhm.
our safety teams. So That's a great point. So it kind of really get your gears rolling around some of the other things that we may be overlooking
Mm,
that business could provide. And the other piece is so the MRSC roster that's the one that's provided by the nonprofit organization.
correct. It's
Okay.
every city by state law up here is required for the small works side to maintain a small works roster.
Got it.
Because for small works projects under $350,000, you're required to select a firm off that list to do the work. It can't be someone that's not registered on the roster.
Got
So most cities in Washington State, especially the larger ones, or use MRSC to provide this because they're experienced and good at it. You know, it provides an easy to navigate program. In many cases, it's free for the businesses to utilize. There
Mhm.
may be a small fee, you know, if you want to be registered for like every city in Western Washington and in
Mhm.
every work category so that you show up on all searches.
Okay.
But if a business is having financial hardships, I do know that there are, you know, discounts that can be
Mhm.
allowed for them
Nice.
so that they're not, you know, barred from getting the name of their firm out there. So it is something that's
Nice.
unique up here that you know, when I was down in Key West where it was difficult to find vendors because of our isolation
Of course.
geographically, um, that it's a great resource to have up here. And
Yeah. I,
one of the things the state did this year, they just passed a law this year that also creates a requires cities to have a rotation policy to
hmm,
prevent what I talked about before of us identifying a category of work and continually picking the same firm over and over again. You know,
nice.
so they want us to mix it up. They want more firms to have the opportunity to compete and get work for the city. And one of the things to kind of ease up on the uh, you know, bureaucracy of the process for government sometime and to speed up hiring for smaller projects. They've allowed us to do direct hires without competition now for public works projects up to $150,000. But
Really?
but it has to be a small business or a or a women or minority or veteran owned business in order for us to use the direct hire method for that.
Got it.
So
Okay.
it allows us to help because for a lot of the certified project or certified firms to get that OMWE certification, you can be too big to get that certification. So once you get into a, you know, too big of a company, like something that's building, you know, large bridges on interstates or football stadiums or what have you, you're going to be too big to be a minority or women owned certified firm at that stage. But for the smaller firms, that's really where it's in their wheelhouse, and we're trying to get more of the smaller firms the opportunity to do those work for the city by easing some of the, you know, competitive requirements for those smaller projects.
Yeah, that's a big deal
Mhm.
for those smaller projects. Now, when we talk about small projects, can we break down like the different thresholds within the city?
Mhm.
Like are those considered like up to 10,000, 5,000? Are those the micro purchase?
Yeah, for purchases under $10,000, and it's always kind of funny because all the cities up here are always asking each other, "What's your threshold? What's your threshold?" You know, because everyone just wants to get their stuff so they can do the work.
Mhm.
But for quotes or for buying, you know, items or stuff, it's $10,000 for us,
Mhm.
and then up to 75,000, you're required to get three quotes, and anything over 75,000 needs a formal competitive bid.
Got it.
Um, it's, but also like with other states, you can utilize a cooperative contract either through a state contract, you know, like the state bids
Mhm.
vehicles, for instance, or other cooperative purchases where someone else has done a competitive purchase, and you're just utilizing their contract to save you from having to do that same work yourself. So there's organizations like Sourcewell, like Omnia, and others out there. and also other cities too. So if Seattle or Bellevue for us, neighboring cities have, just done a procurement for a specialty vehicle that we were looking to purchase, instead of going through the process of doing bid documents ourselves, we can just piggyback off theirs as long as the scope and everything that they did matches our what the city's needs are.
Got it. And I like that you mentioned the piggybacking. So I have
Mhm,
I want to piggyback off of the piggyback
mhm,
statement. So with the piggybacking process, is it typically just for cities that are in Washington State, or can you also
mhm.
piggyback off? Okay.
We can go for anywhere, and we actually just, in order to make it easier in this regard, we just changed our own rules for, we call them interlocal agreements. You have to have an interlocal purchasing agreement in place with an entity before you can start piggybacking off their contract. Um, so we changed it this year, where in the past those had to be executed by our city council. Now they can be executed by our director of finance and administration. So if we find a good deal on something that was purchased in, you know, Miami-Dade County, I can reach out to Miami-Dade County, create an interlocal purchasing agreement, have my boss execute it, and then we're good to go. So it kind of streamlines that project process of getting an interlocal agreement, because sometimes you're less likely to utilize them if you don't have one already in place. And by the time you take it to council, that can add another, 3 weeks or a month to the process. So now it, you know, greatly shrinks that time to get the agreements in place.
Nice. I really like that. And it has my wheels spinning a little bit on
Hmm.
some opportunities or some contracts that we already have that we could possibly shop around. So
And
Jay, you have started something.
well, it is something that also I would suggest to businesses too, because, a lot of times if we see a product we like and we reach out to a vendor, make sure you volunteer that information to the city that, hey, we have a contract in place with whomever,
Mm.
because that will make, I guarantee that'll make people ears perk up, because it's like, oh, I don't have to go out and get two other quotes, or I don't have to do another formal bid. As long as the other entity did a legitimate, formal bid themselves, we can utilize their contract.
Nice. So what I'm hearing is make it easy to give
Mhm.
me your money. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I love that. And then also, so this is to wrap up, when it comes down to marketing your business to the city, and that, that tip you just gave was definitely a key in marketing, marketing your business as well, marketing your existing contracts. What are some tips that you have, other tips that you have for small businesses looking to do business with the city and would like to market? Should they reach out? Who
Mhm.
should they reach out to? Like, what are those steps and processes?
It's a few different things you can do besides that MRSC list I mentioned, and reaching out to the departments directly, which a lot of times is more helpful for the smaller items. If you are, say, maybe someone who directs traffic at a larger construction site, they call that MOT, or you're a subcontractor that does, just asphalt work, but you don't have the resources to bid on a $5 million project. Where we post our bids, you can look at the plan holders list and then reach out to those prime companies that may be bidding and say, hey, do you have a subcontractor to provides this service? Or at least start fostering those relationships between businesses so that, okay, maybe it doesn't work this time, but they'll keep that name on file for maybe the next project they bid on. If this firm isn't available, let's give this firm a shot. So it's a good opportunity for smaller firms to do that. And another change that happened in Washington state law this year is for larger projects over $2 million, at least I think it's 15% of all that work has to be done by apprentice labor. The purpose is to, develop the apprentice skills so that those individuals can, you know, run the show after they've gained experience. So look into those apprentice opportunities and try to get those apprentice designations so that you're eligible to comprise that 15% requirement for the larger projects that is out there.
I'm writing this down because so that 15%
Mm.
requirement for apprentice, how do you find those opportunities to, yes.
It's a good question.
Okay.
The reason being is because it's a brand new law, and there's a lot of cities that are all trying to figure this stuff out at the same time. With the changes in the apprentice law and the small works law, the state, the MRSC put on a conference to kind of walk through some of the changes that are in place. And in I think 1.5 hour meeting, there were 110 questions answered or asked by everyone in the audience. So there's a lot of people that are still trying to figure it out. Right now, that burden is on the bidders to find the apprentice labor, and then the city verifies it to make sure that they're compliant with the state law. There are potential waivers if the business has made a good faith effort to find an apprentice and if that labor just doesn't exist. So like for instance, some of our municipals that are ports, like maybe Port of Tacoma, Port of Seattle, there may be a shortage of apprentice labor like in the dredging area where they're, maintenance dredging their harbors to allow for the larger ships to come in. So it is something that's new that the state did that we're all trying to figure out, but I think it represents a great opportunity for people to develop skills and acumen in various fields so that, you know, they're running their own businesses sometime in the future.
Yeah, and the state is really shout out to
Mm.
Washington State because they are implementing policies back to back. I know that first one that we mentioned. I think you also mentioned another one that the state rolled out. The first one was for the small dollar opportunities,
Mhm.
and then now this apprentice style program.
Yep.
So the state
They
is implementing policies back to back. Did you also say they had one to a rotation policy, or was it at the city level?
the city is required, the
Okay.
state is requiring cities to create a rotation policy for vendors for small works direct hire processes. In other words, you're not allowed to do the direct hire process unless you have this rotation. And I think it's this, you have to have a rotation policy in place and a business utilization policy, which talks about the city's plan for engagement with small businesses, minority businesses, women-owned businesses, um, veteran-owned businesses, and many of the different designations. And also with small works roster the process has also changed for projects under $350,000. Anything over 350,000, we have to do a competitive bid that's open to anyone that wants to bid for it. If it's
Mhm.
under 350, we used to be able to cherry pick and depending on the dollar amount of the project, pick either 3 or 5 firms for a quote. Now we have to invite the whole category of everyone that's registered in that category of work.
Got it.
And the reason for that is to prevent what I had mentioned previously about going back to the same 5 firms all the times and asking for quotes.
Of
So
course.
this time everyone knows that, hey, if I'm on that small works roster, anywhere in that category, I'm going to have the opportunity to provide a quote now. And I'm not going to be excluded from, the opportunity to bid just because the municipality keeps going back to the same 5 firms all the time.
Got it. And this is my final question on
Mhm.
the small
Yep.
opportunities roster. Is it exclusively for businesses in Washington State?
Nope. Nope.
Wait a minute.
Others can register on the website, I believe, um, for the direct hire, it does have to be small or certified businesses. But yeah, there are businesses from outside Washington State that do business in Washington State that are either on that small works roster category or that can get the OMWB certification and get those, various benefits like one great thing that the certification program has with the state is that they have banks that are willing to loan money at a 2% less interest rate than the market has. So it's a great opportunity for those certified businesses, especially in today's world where interest rates for loans are significant. 2% is nothing to sneeze at. That can represent a significant savings. So that alone, can more than cover the relatively small application fee for the certification.
That is nice. Now, in this is, I know I said it was my final question, but you
Mhm.
keep bringing up stuff, Jay, and I enjoy this conversation a lot. So I will continue to like piggyback and ask questions. So this is kind of more to that procurement side of it.
Mhm.
So as a, procurement professional in this space, how that is decentralized. So I
Mhm.
want to really focus on the decentralized
Yep.
aspect of it. How do you respond to businesses that are trying to figure out where they can provide support to the city?
Mhm. They can reach out to me and sometimes they do, then I'll farm them out to the different departments. There are some services that are small business related that obviously aren't a fit to a municipality, a salon or a dentist or something like that, that we're not going to have a direct contract relationship to. But for most fields, even for catering, there are certain events that the city caters, that it's
Mm.
good for people to
Uh-oh.
know who's out there so that they can invite those firms to uh, cater various events that we do. Um, or just reach out and tell me what they do. And that's why some of our summer certification series with the small businesses were great because then they could tell me what they do. And then I could, translate that into, well, okay, you do this, and these are some of the things that the city does, and this is how we utilize contracts that might utilize, if you make blinds, if you make if flooring, how that is incorporated within city projects.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a big one because that's one
Mhm.
space a lot of times people are trying to figure out, how can they support and being in South Florida, that we have a lot of
Mhm.
parks and like parks and rec. So
Mhm.
they've started to do more events and things now.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining that it's the exact same at the city of Kirkland. So
Well, and what's very difficult for small businesses is, you know, they're busy doing the work. They
exactly.
don't have staff to be a marketer, to be, an HR department. They have to do all that stuff themselves.
Of
So
course.
it's difficult to devote the time to go out there and do that marketing, while you're still trying to finish the jobs that you have.
Absolutely. Jay, this has been amazing. Is there any parting wisdom that you would like to leave with any of the businesses who are tuned in? And also, if you are listening, as you know, as the episode goes, I am dropping links. So if you want to join the MRSC roster, the link is in there. Go to the City of Kirkland's website, check out the departments, check out some of the products and projects that they have going on currently and some of the things that's going on. Check out their social media update, see what type of things or
Mhm.
events that are happening in the city, right? So definitely do some research. But Jay, do we have any parting wisdom you would like to leave with any businesses listening?
I think one thing also is when you know your business, go to your city's website or your county's website and uh, look at the budget. That tells you where we're going to be spending our money in the coming year. So
Okay.
you can look at those budget documents. You can see what construction projects are coming up, uh, be it big or small. You can see what departments the city has and what kind of programming is out there. And then you can find what is the best fit for the services that you provide that would offer value to the city.
Thank you, Jay. That's perfect. Budget will tell you, follow the money. That's my favorite line. Follow the
Follow
money.
follow the money, and we always I always try to coach our staff. We want to treat our vendors well because we want vendors to want to come work for the city because it gives us better quotes, it gives us better pricing, it gives us better service when we have firms that are competing for the work opportunities we have.
Yes, yes. Oh, so thank you so much, Jay.
Thank you.
Until everyone who's listening, until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share this interview with anyone that you know is in Washington State, any business that is looking to do business in that area. Have them reach out, have them see how they can provide some support, bring some value to the city of Kirkland, and make sure you tell them to reach out to Jay directly. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, figure out which departments need their services. And until then, I'll see you all in the next episode. All right. Peace. Okay, that is it. The
All
episode is
right.
done. How you feeling?
Feel good.
Okay, good.